Hello viewers and welcome to yet another live-action commentated match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I'm pleased to present you with a video sent in by the gentleman to the left, Alexander Cimadon, who has chosen to play as our initial Astra Militarum faction warlord Colonel Straken. On the right resides his opponent Jarl Due, having opted instead to play our second Eldar faction warlord Baharroth. We can see that the initiative token happens to be in Alexander's possession, and in assessing our opening layout of planets, planet number 1 is going to be Barless, the random card discard planet. Planet number 2 is going to be Aatrox Prime, which lets you pick an adjacent planet or an enemy HQ and deal 1 damage to all enemy units at that location. Planet number 3 is going to be Avarn, which allows players to put an army unit directly into play into their HQ. Planet number 4 is going to be Farron, which routes non-warlord units, and planet number 5 is going to be Taurus, which rewards a player for keeping their unit count lower than that of their opponent in the form of their choice of 3 cards or 3 resources. So, our first couple deploy actions of the game happen to be the signature army unit Straken's command squad put out to planets 3 and 4. They're a 2/2 unit with a command icon and the soldier trait, and when they leave play, you put a 1/2 soldier trait guardsman token into play at that planet as well. So, alongside the 2/6 warlord Colonel Straken, they'll be attacking for 3, and those tokens will be attacking for 2. We also see an Iron Guard recruits put out to planet number 5. That's a 2 command icon unit for 2, and we see a copy of Eldar Survivalist positioned at planet number 2. That's going to be a card and resource bonus unit. It looks as though at this point Alexander has passed, and Baharroth is certainly capitalizing upon this opportunity to just fill the board with economy units here. So the Eldar Survivalist at 2, we see 2 copies of Void Pirate at planet number 1, and that's going to be a +2 card bonus, which is going to be an incredible 4 from 1 planet. We see a Death from Above event played, which is going to put a copy of the Baharroth's Hawk's signature army unit, a 0/2 with 2 command icons in the mobile keyword, into play at the 5th final planet, and that's going to conveniently negate the 2 command icons of that Iron Guard recruits, so that'll be just both players tying. And now it's going to be a difficult decision here whether Colonel Straken wanted to go to planet number 1 or 2 to try to shut down that incredible 4-card bonus there, but it looks as though Straken's opted to go to planet number 2. So, planet number 1 is going to be an incredible 4 cards generated there by Baharroth. Note that we've got a copy of the Banner of the Ashen Sky, the signature support, in play. Planet number 2 is going to be 2 cards and 2 resources for Baharroth. Planet number 3 is going to be a tie. Planet 4 is going to be 2 resources there to the left for Alexander. And planet number 5 is going to be also a tie. We see a random card discarded. That's going to be a 2-shield event. That is the Emperor's Warrant, a very powerful effect indeed, so a damn shame to see that go. And that's going to be 1 green strongpoint planet there, won by Jarl. So both of those Void Pirates are going to bounce into the HQ. Looks as though the combat phase occurs. That's going to be Baharroth's Hawks relocating itself to be adjacent to that Straken's command squad at planet number 4. And it looks as though we're not actually going to see Banner of the Ashen Sky used this round. There's yet to be any movement, and I don't imagine there are any other effects that may trigger movement at any point. So, looks like Colonel Straken is going to take a swing. He's got the initiative, so what exactly is he attacking? Is he going to try to kill off the Eldar Survivalist, or is he going to try to banish Baharroth from that planet? Looks as though we see a copy of Gift of Isha discarded as shields, whatever his target happened to be, and that's another copy of, I believe, the Emperor's Warrant discarded to ensure that Colonel Straken takes no damage, so you definitely don't want that Warlord bloodied. You want him involved in combat and to deal out as much damage as possible. Looks as though Aatrox Prime is going to be able to blast either an adjacent planet or the enemy HQ. There are a lot of vulnerable units sitting there, but let's see, that's going to be the HQ attacked. So that's a battle won by Straken. Looks like Baharroth was trying to remove himself to that planet, wanting to avoid being bloodied, but Aatrox Prime ends up destroying both of those copies of the Void Pirate, and I suppose we're either still waiting on shield cards or we saw shield cards in regard to the Eldar Survivalist and Baharroth being damaged there, so maybe I missed the shielding effect. But in any case, looks as though our players are advancing to our HQ phase. The initiative token is going to bounce over to the right, now under the possession of Jarl, our Eldar Baharroth player. And now let's see some deploy actions. We've got that 1-2 ranged unit at planet planet number 2. I didn't talk about it earlier, but the Baharroth's Hawks, currently residing at planet number 3, are a 0/2 unit. They've got 2 command icons, but they don't have any attack value unless they happen to be positioned at the same planet as Baharroth. Baharroth himself has the mobile keyword, just like those signature army units do, and if they can all kind of concentrate together at the same planet, then the signature army there can actually attack for a pretty damn decent amount. At 3, our new 5th planet is going to be a copy of Planum. It allows you to move a non-warlord unit, and we see a 2 command icon Bealtan Guardians touch down at that planet, and incredibly we end up seeing our 3rd copy of Colonel Straken's command squad at planet number 1, so that's a lot. We haven't seen many cards for Alexander yet, but we've already had 3 copies of a 4-copy signature army unit. So, looks as though we end up seeing a copy of a Snakebite Thug put out to planet number 1 by Alexander. That's going to be a 3/4 Orc allied unit that ends up dealing itself a point of damage after it attacks, and it looks as though we now see the correct amount of damage on that Eldar Survivalist and Baharroth. Looks like we've got another copy of Baharroth's Hawks put out onto planet number 2. Now they've got an associated ion rifle. It always makes it a little bit difficult to tell what the attachment is when you cannot see the lovely art on that card, but that makes Baharroth's Hawks potentially attack for 3, and with the presence of Baharroth at that planet, they'll be able to threaten an incredible 6, and considering that if Baharroth is present at that planet, he'll be able to command initiative, that could be a fantastic ability to potentially bloody Colonel Straken there. So let us see. We also see a Steel Legion Chimera touch down on planet number 1. It's going to be a 2/4 vehicle unit that shaves 1 point of attack damage off of any friendly non-vehicle units located at that planet. In regard to victory conditions, looks like we could see Baharroth win as early as planet number 4 through the green strongpoint type icons he's already picked up, or if we see either player win 3 in a row, that could be red material type icons. So, Colonel Straken shows up at planet number 2. Baharroth instead goes to planet number 3, which is going to allow him to relocate via mobile to 2 or 4, should he choose to do so. But that's going to be 1 card, 1 resource at planet number 1 for Alexander. Planet number 2 is going to be 1 resource for Alexander. Planet number 3 is going to be 2 resources and a card, and actually a bonus resource for Baharroth because of that Eldar Survivalist. Planet number 4 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Alexander. Planet number 5 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Baharroth. Baharroth and his Hawks both end up relocating themselves to planet number 2. Aatrox Prime is going to have a fantastic target in planet number 2 there to do a little bit of orbital bombardment. So, Aatrox Prime fires. That's going to be another point of damage threatened upon Baharroth. That's potentially going to be those Hawks taking another point of damage. The Viorla Marksman also takes a point of damage, and it looks as though we don't actually see any shields used. We see Banner of the Ashen Sky affect one of those units. Looks as though it was the attack-augmented Baharroth's Hawks, potentially. Maybe it's this ranged unit, the Viorla Marksman, but I suppose not. That's going to be 1 point of damage dealt out by the Marksman to Colonel Straken. Note that the initiative token is in the possession of that Baharroth's Hawks. That's going to be an attack of an incredible 8, but there we go. That's going to be a very timely signature event, the Glorious Intervention, so that attack upon assignment is going to be prevented, and that's going to be a dead Straken's command squad, but it deals damage equal to its printed, not modified, but printed attack value out to that Baharroth's Hawk, so it is dead. The ion rifle is gone, and that's going to be the Banner of the Ashen Sky gone. So Straken is saved thanks to the sacrifice of his command squad. It makes sense to me, but that is going to be a Guardsman token put into play, and now it'll have the opportunity to attack for 2. So unless we see a 2-shield icon card, that could be another couple of points of damage dealt out to Baharroth, or were it me, I would be trying to kill off those Hawks. There we go. Looks like Alexander and I are of one mind. That's going to be another dead signature army unit, and very well played there by Colonel Straken. So a lot of units currently residing in Straken's HQ. We can clearly see in Alexander's hand that he's got a copy of the signature attachment, Straken's Cunning, +1 attack to the attached unit, and when it leaves play, you draw 3 cards. Looks like like that Guardsman token is going to be handily destroyed by Baharroth, and now Straken himself is going to have an opportunity to take a swing. Is he going to kill off the Warlord Marksman? Definitely a good idea to get rid of that unit as quickly as possible, but it looks as though we see another what must be a 2-shield icon card discarded. I can't quite tell if that is a Gift of Isha or not. It was either that or Empowered, judging by that Eldar faction symbol upon the card. I don't think there are any other Eldar faction 2-shield icon options. The end of combat is going to reside. It's going to be Jarl's decision. Does he want to retreat? He's got to make this decision first. If he stays at this planet, he's going to be able to bloody Straken before Straken's able to kill off the enemies, but looks as though Baharroth decides to stick around, and that's going to be Straken deciding to evacuate the premises there. That's Yavvarn triggered, and that is a mighty Wraith Knight put into play with nothing put into play by Alexander, and let me tell you, that is a hell of a thing to see a 6-cost unit put into play for free when your opposition gets absolutely nothing. The Mighty Wraith Knight, when it enters play, it exhausts all non-spirit trait units at its planets. Granted, it doesn't do that when it's put into play directly into one's HQ. But a free 5/5, I'm not going to say no myself, but there we go. That's that battle lost by Alexander, but, doesn't really cost him anything. Baharroth hung around to get that incredible unit there. New HQ phase comes and goes. That's going to be our initiative token in the possession of Alexander. New 5th planet is going to be Elwith. If you win it, you take a peek at the top 3 cards of your deck. You pick one of those, you add it to your hand, you put the remaining 2 on the bottom of your deck in the order of your choice. Catachan Outpost is going to interplay there by Alexander. And let us see. Currently, if Alexander can win planet number 2 and 3, that's going to be the game for him. There's not a tremendous amount of opposition out there, but wherever that Mighty Wraith Knight ends up showing up, that's going to definitely make things much more difficult for our core set Astra Militarum Warlord. We've got a lot of units there in the Astra Militarum players HQ. The Steel Legion Chimera is not a warrior, but the other 2 are, so they get an attack bonus from Straken. And I'll just be very curious to see if Straken goes and tries to push planet number 1, if he tries to go to Farron to maybe rout that Wraith Knight if it touches down at a planet like 3, trying to set itself up for an additional round. But regardless as to what happens, we see a Swordwind Farseer put out to planet number 1. Looks as though Alexander's wanting to contest that planet, probably trying to prevent his opposition from putting more 6-cost units for play into play for free. Because the Snakebite Thug touches down at that planet, and dear Mother of God. So, the Snakebite Thug is now exhausted because that's going to be a Mighty Wraith Knight entering play at planet number 1. It's going to exhaust all spirit trait units, so hopefully in just a moment we see that Warlord Marksman and the Swordwind Farseer also end up exhausted. That Farseer isn't something you see every day, so just to remind you, it's you scry the top 6 cards of your deck, you pick any one of those cards. I suppose you could say you tutor the top 6 cards of your deck, but whatever it happens to be, you look at those top 6 cards, you pick one, you add it to your hand, you put the remaining 5 on the bottom of your deck in the order of your choice. Looks like we could see Alexander still trying to press and win at that planet. That's a copy of Talarn Raiders put out to planet number 1. It's typically a 1-cost 0/2, but if a Warlord is present, it attacks for 2. If Straken makes himself present, it's going to be able to attack for 3, and we see Straken's Cunning, the 3 shield value card, put into play on that unit, so it's going to be able to potentially attack for 4 if Straken shows up, but let's see how things break down. The Marksman and Farseer should be exhausted, but looks as though both of our Warlords have decided to send their Warlords to planet number 1, so looks like it's a grand total of 1 command icon versus 2 for Baharroth, so Baharroth is going to win 1 resource from planet number 1. Planet number 2 is going to be a tie, unless that Eldar Survivalist is actually supposed to be at planet number at planet number 1. I'm not exactly sure about that unit, but planet number 3 is definitely going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Alexander, and planet number 4 is definitely going to be a resource and a card for our Baharroth players. So Catachan Outpost is going to exhaust, or perhaps it is not. Note that the initiative token is in Alexander's possession. That Viorla Marksman should be exhausted, but let's see if our players actually end up missing that effect. So it looks as though we will see the Viorla Marksman perhaps take a swing, and this is definitely a bit of a shame because that Farseer and the Marksman are not exhausted. It makes things much more difficult for Colonel Straken than things should actually end up being. But without any way to augment that effect, yeah, I guess that's going to be the Steel Legion Chimera taking that point of damage. You're able to prevent 1 point of attack damage dealt out to any non-vehicle present at that planet. So even though the Viorla Marksman isn't doing much, it is getting in a bonus point of damage. But regardless, I suppose I hate to harp on it, but I really wish that Snakebite Thug were not exhausted if we'd seen that reaction not triggered, but in any case, gotta look out for the underdog Straken here in this match. So what are we going to see? We could see, okay, so that's going to be a grand total of an attack value of 6. Catachan Outpost gives +2. The Talon Raiders gets +2 because there's a Warlord present. It gets +1 from Straken, and it gets +1 from that attachment, but that is the Shining Blade discarded as shields, and therefore that's only going to be 3 points of damage dealt to the mighty Wraith Knight there. Looks like we're seeing Straken take a... Okay, so he's exhausting himself to fund a suppressive fire. So that is going to be the mighty Wraith Knight tapped out and exhausted prior to its opportunity to attack as an action thanks to that event. And that's the Swordwind Farseer putting out another couple points of damage onto that Steel Legion Chimera, which is unfortunately a mistake. And then Baharroth is able to finish the deal there, so... definitely a regrettable situation that reaction went kind of missed. It's not a one-sided thing, but regardless, we're going to see a new combat round occur. That's going to be all those units for Alexander readying. It's going to be all of our Eldar faction units readied as well. Note that Alexander still has initiative. I don't think he has any cards left in hand. There are 2 different 5 attack value units staring down our Astra Militarum faction player. So those Snakebite Thugs are going to have the opportunity to attack for 4. And looks like that's what we're going to see. That's going to be a dead Wraith Knight. And now what exactly are we going to see in return? If Alexander doesn't have any shield cards in hand, that's going to be a Wraith Knight potentially able to bloody Colonel Straken, and that Snakebite Thug should be dealing itself a point of damage after resolution of its attack in just a moment here. But what exactly are we going to see as a desirable target? Will he go for the bloody, or will he try to kill off one of these relatively hard-hitting units? Definitely would pay off, I think, over the long term to deprive all of these warriors, all of these soldiers of their +1 attack value bonus. And there we go, that Snakebite Thug does successfully deal itself 1 point of damage, but it looks as though that mighty Wraith Knight has opted instead to kill off the currently 4/4 unit that was that Snakebite Thug, as opposed to bloodying or threatening the bloody of Straken, because I believe Alexander is indeed out of cards. The Talon Raiders is going to take a swing for 4 and kill off that Swordwind Farseer. That's a 2/2 unit now destroyed. And let's see. It looks like it's going to be the Talon Raiders as the target of Baharroth's attacks. They are destroyed, and that's going to be a 3 cards drawn by our Astra Militarum player. Is there anything relevant to combat? I see a Stalwart Ogren, and I saw a copy of Catachan Outpost, but I missed the additional copy. Looks as though planet number 2, that Eldar Survivalist, must not have indeed been present at planet number 1, so between the command squad, between the Survivalists, no player player ended up winning anything, and that's kind of the pitfall of such an expensive economy unit there, is it's absolutely trivial under normal circumstances to shut down. Looks as though we see a card discarded as shields. That's going to be Straken's command squad, dealing 2 points of damage, however, out to that mighty Wraith Knight. I think that was a Death from Above that was discarded as shields, and that is going to be bringing us quickly to the end of our combat round here, but Colonel Straken is still ready. He's still going to be able to take a swing. He himself is only attacking for 2. He takes 2 points of damage himself, but he's able to kill off the Viorlaw marksman there, and that is going to bring us to the end of a combat round. Note again that Alexander still possesses the initiative. He'll be able to swing for 4 to likely kill off that mighty Wraith Knight if Baharroth does not retreat. I would imagine that Alexander's not going to trigger Yvarn should he win, and there we go. We end up seeing the retreat for our Eldar players. That will be Yvarn captured, and that's going to be a red, green, and blue icon for Alexander, and as a result, if he can win at Farron, then that is going to be the game. But what exactly are we going to see? Will we see that ability triggered or not? Will we see a third copy of the mighty Wraith Knight put into play? I would imagine no, but let's see how things break down. So our first planet is gone. Straken bounces back to his HQ. He brings a couple units with him. He brings his command squad. He brings a Snakebite Thug. Our new first planet is, of course, going to be Farron, and this could well decide the game. So looks like both players draw their 2 cards. They generate their 4 resources during our HQ phase here. And now it's all going to come potentially down to this planet, or perhaps Taurus. Straken's got the advantage of 1 ready unit at that planet. When that unit gets burst, it's going to afford him the opportunity of generating a Guardsman token, which itself could potentially attack for 2. So the initiative is going to be in the hands of Baharroth, and we see a Swordwind Farseer show up, and now I'll be very curious to see how things end up being resolved. Baharroth might want to send himself to planet number 2 to benefit from Banner of the Ashen Sky in moving to planet number 1, but if he does that, he won't be depositing that mighty Wraith Knight at that planet. But all the same, that Wraith Knight with 3 hit points remaining, that's not really looking like too much, but Baharroth can have the initiative, so it's going to be a very difficult kind of decision there. I mean, I think Baharroth is going to send himself to planet number 1, but that Wraith Knight, even though you really want to benefit from that 5 attack value, it is so incredibly fragile, and I think a lot of this is going to come down to what exactly Cimadon has to put into play at planet number 1 to kill off that Wraith Knight before we see a new combat round and Baharroth uses the initiative to take a swing. But Iron Guard recruits put out to planet number, I believe, 3 by Alexander, and then a couple different plays here for our Eldar player. It's going to be a copy of the Swordwind Farseer put out to planet number 1. That's allowing him to tutor the top 6 cards of his deck for any 1 card he'd like, and of course put the remaining 5 on the bottom of his deck in the order of his choice. And the Iandan Wraith Guard shows up at planet number 1 as well, which is a 4/2 unit with Armor Bane. We see a Steel Legion Chimera touch down on planet number 2, and therefore I can only imagine that Alexander is going to go play it safe, play it a little bit conservatively in sending Straken to planet number 2 to not only prevent his opponent from potentially triggering Taurus, depending upon numbers of units. Yep, there we go. Looks like Baharroth goes to planet number 1 to definitely guarantee his opponent's not going to be able to win at that planet. And planet number 2 is going to be Straken, setting himself up fantastically for the following round. So in regard to command, that's going to be 2 resources, an additional resource, and a card at planet number 1. Planet number 2 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource to the left for Alexander. Baharroth, of course, won at planet number 1 regarding command struggles. Planet 3 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource, 1 by Alexander because of a timely play of promotion on that Iron Guard recruits. And planet number 4, no player is going to win. So looks as though that's going to be a very dead Straken's command squad. I'm not exactly sure what unit ended up doing that killing, and then that Guardsman token is going to interplay, and that'll allow it to take a swing at something but what exactly it's attacking, I'm not quite sure. But it looks as though we maybe saw a copy of Empower or another card used as shields. So Theron is going to be activated. That'll be a Planet 1 by Baharroth. All those units are going to be bouncing into his HQ, and Steel Legion Chimera is going to be routed. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units controlled by Straken, relative to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units controlled by our Eldar players, who, to Alexander's chagrin, he's not going to be able to actually benefit from Taurus's ability. Bit of a damn shame that occurred, and I suppose in hindsight you could say it was perhaps a mistake to try to play out that Iron Guard recruits to Planum. You know, you would have lost a card and a resource, but you could have potentially generated 3 cards and then used that effect this round. But, you know, who knows how things could have changed in hindsight. In any case, a new HQ phase now occurs. This is going to be Cimadon possessing our initiative token at a planet where he's got ready units, and the game could well be decided. We see another copy of Catachan Outpost interplay. I can only imagine that both of our warlords are going to be ending up sent to Taurus to try to block Alexander's victory condition or to otherwise win. And that is going to be an interesting couple of effects here. Looks as though we saw a copy of Craft World Gate played by our Eldar faction player, and that's going to be the Mighty Wraith Knight returned to his hand, so it's going to cost him 6 resources to do what I can only imagine he's going to do, but I assume we'll see that Mighty Wraith Knight deployed to planet number 1 to exhaust all of Alexander's present units, and that is a very expensive effect, but it could pay off in spades. And for Alexander, we see a copy of the Void Pirate put out to planet number 3 to hopefully provide him with 3 cards that he'll need for combat tricks and shield cards. There we go. Looks like that's the play. Mighty Wraith Knight out to planet number 1. All non-spirit trait units are going to end up exhausted, and that is a 5/5 unit entirely ready. So what exactly is Alexander going to try to do to save himself? Looks as though it's a Rattling Deadeye put out to planet number 1. That's a 1/1 ranged keyword unit, but if there's anything nice about the Rattling Deadeye, it's going to be that it's a ranged keyword unit, and count 1, 2, 3 Catachan outposts in Cimadon's headquarters, which is just absolute insanity. So the Rattling Deadeye is not going to get a +1 bonus thanks to Straken, but it's going to be able to obliterate that Mighty Wraith Knight, threatening a possible 7, and we've already seen that we've already seen the Shining Blade used as shield, so planet number 1 is going to be our Eldar player winning. That's going to be 2 cards and 2 resources at planet number 1 to him, thanks to the existence of that Eldar Survivalist, and 2 command icons on the Wraith Knight trumps the Rattling Deadeye's 1. It's going to be 1 card, 1 resource at planet 2 for Alexander, and 3 cards from planet number 3 for Alexander. So, combat is about to begin. The question on the forefront of my mind is, we've seen, I believe, 2 copies of Gift of Isha discarded as shields. Do we have a 3rd copy? Note, I suppose there's not enough resource tokens for our player to the right to use a copy of Gift of Isha, so if this Mighty Wraith Knight ends up being destroyed by the Rattling Deadeye, that could change everything. It could really give Colonel Straken a fighting chance here. But how are things going to break down? If we see that Wraith Knight killed, if we see that Wraith Guard killed prior to its opportunity to do something incredibly nasty in the form of a 4 Armor Bane attack, then that could make all the difference in the world and make this rather likely that Cimadon can pull this victory out in the end, despite that Wraith Knight slip up earlier. But there we go, that's going to be a 7 attack. Rattling Deadeye obliterating that Mighty Wraith Knight, so you know, that guy must have been top of his class in sniper school for sure. And now, because Alexander's got the initiative token, that's going to be Straken taking a swing for 2 at that Iandon Wraithguard. Do we have even a single shield card in hand? There we go. That's going to be a copy of Doom discarded as shields. And that means that the Wraithguard is not quite destroyed, but Baharroth himself is going to take a swing at something. What is it going to be? That's the Steel Legion Chimera taking 2 points of damage. That's going to bring us to the end of the combat round. Neither of our players is going to be interested in retreating, it looks like, but how are things going to be resolved? If we see Baharroth win at this planet, he would also have to win at Planum in order to take the game. game. The initiative token is going to be in Cimadon's possession, and that's going to be a swing of 3, killing off that Iand Wraithguard, and now things are looking all the way bad there to the right there for Jarl. So the Iand Wraithguard is gone. It's 4. Armorbane value attack is now gone. The Swordwind Farseer takes a swing, kills off that Steel Legion Chimera, but there's still a lot of threatening units left. And it seems as though our Eldar players all out of options. That's going to be an attack value of 4 going out to, I can only imagine, Baharroth, but we saw something discarded as shields. Must have been a 1 value card. Can't quite tell what it is. Perhaps an ion rifle or something. I can just see the Tau faction symbol, and that's going to be Baharroth with 1 remaining hit point. Baharroth himself is going to take a swing at that 1 hit point remaining Snakebite Thug after it had dealt itself 1 point of damage. And now it's all going to come down to the Rattling Deadeye and that Iron Guard recruit. So we see the Deadeye take a swing of 1, kill off the Eldar Survivalist, and the Rattling Deadeye itself is going to take a swing at Baharroth. Are we going to see our second Eldar faction warlord bloodied? The answer is no. We see something discarded as shields, and we see yet another card discarded as shields. So it looks like Straken took a swing at the Swordwind Farseer, unless I missed my order of operations here. But we've got a new combat round that's going to be Baharroth bloodied, and now the Swordwind Farseer is going to take a swing at the Rattling Deadeye. That Rattling Deadeye is going to be destroyed, but it looks as though our video has been cut unfortunately short, but all the same, very well played by both of our players. A presumable congratulations to Alexander Cimadon for winning this one. Baharroth ended up bloodied, sent packing away from that planet, and despite that considerable Mighty Wraith Knight slip-up, that regrettable mistake earlier in the video, it looks as though our core set Astra Militarum Warlord was nevertheless able to be piloted by a very skilled player to victory. So congratulations again to Alexander. Thank you at home for watching, and as always, I'll just end this video by saying, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, I always encourage you share this content, because the more people there are that stumble upon this game, the more individuals may give it a try, like what they experience, end up buying into Conquest, join our community, and of course, all together we continue to send the message to Fantasy Flight Games to continue to support this fantastic product. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me, I would encourage you to do so through Facebook or on Twitter, and if you ever feel so inclined to mimicking Alexander and sending in footage to me of your own, I would be honored to receive some recorded games of yours so that I could commentate and host those upon my channel. If you ever feel like donating to the Hive Tyrant, I would be absolutely honored were you to make a donation to my Patreon. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for ever more Conquest LCG content to come.